Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special project. I'm Daisy Victoria, and I am so excited to share with you guys today something that's really close to my heart. For most of my life, it has been my dream to create a traditional dress from my homeland and that of my ancestors. Some of you already know that I'm Swedish. I'm half Swedish. My mother grew up there, and most of my family still lives there. I've spent a lot of time in Sweden myself, and I have so many happy childhood memories of running around at my grandparents' house, visiting my cousins, running through the forest, picking blueberries and strawberries, and also going to this old-time festival, which was probably where I first fell in love with traditional folk dress. In Sweden, folk dress is worn on midsummer, and midsummer was one of my favorite times to be there. So I always wanted my own dress. Today we are going to be making a traditional dress from the district of my heritage. I come from a town of proud Swedish people. Most of the world probably knows us best for our furniture exports. It's really the main industry. We have other industries, like we have a really nice food marketplace. We have lots of things for home organization. We have kitchen supplies, really just all kinds of things for the home. That's what we're known for, and it's what we do best, and we're very, very proud of it. So today I'm really excited that I can share my heritage and that proud joy of my district with all of you. Folk dress in Scandinavia is largely based on dress that was actually worn in the 19th century. And in fact, a lot of the fabrics and materials that are traditionally used today are based on ones that were used back then in the district or the region that folk dress is from. And in fact, if you're interested in seeing more of these dresses, you can actually go to the Scandinavian Digital Museum archives, where you can access the collections of many museums throughout Scandinavia. It was through these resources that I was able to base my patterning on not only what I know of folk dress today, but also give a nod to really where it came from and really kind of look at how those dresses were patterned. Now, when you see folk dress today, it's really important to get the right fabric and the right materials. I made sure to get a fabric that is actually historically correct from my district, and that is this lovely blue polypropylene. Because I was working with historical fabrics, I didn't have a lot of large pieces, so I did have to do a little bit of creative patterning here, which I'll show you as I go through making the dress. On a lot of folk dress, you see decorative trims used. So there's a special trim that's really traditional for my district. It's really cool. We're really proud of it. Now, to get this really historical trim, you often find it just in like little fragments, and it's usually really hard to get like long, appreciable pieces of this trim. So I was really, really lucky to be able to find long enough pieces that I could really use it on my dress. I did have to piece a few pieces of the trim around the skirt, but it was totally worth it. Now, making this dress was a bit of a challenge because I wanted to make sure that it really paid homage to my district, because it's really important to me to honor my heritage and to be able to share my passion with you guys too. So as we go through the making of this dress, I'll tell you guys a little bit about what I'm doing and where everything came from. And then guess what? I have a special bonus for you, because after I make the dress, I'm actually going to wear it to my district, and I'm going to show you guys some of the traditional stuff that we do there. I was lucky enough to get enough of that historical ribbon to actually have hair ribbons in addition to my dress, and I love them so much that I'm still wearing them. I just think they're the best. All right, so make sure you stick around to see me interact naturally in my hometown district, and let's go make this dress. Now really, where would we be on a project without proper cat approval? Miss Kitty here is inspecting the shirt, or skjorta, which I will be wearing with my traditional dress. It's really important to get your folk dress, or folkdrakt, approved by a cat, because everyone knows that cats are actually the best judge of clothing. Miss Kitty does approve of my skjorta, which is really good because I already made it. This shirt is made out of white cotton, or bomull, and it's edged with some trim. It's going to go great underneath the blue polypropylene fabric that I was able to get. Let's make sure Miss Kitty approves of this fabric too. Okay, so she doesn't want to sit on top of this fabric, but that's totally fine. She's definitely giving it an approval. And now that the cat has approved, we can move forward. By the way, if you don't have a cat, it's okay to let someone else's cat approve of your project. Because this fabric was in fragments, I had to kind of divide it up into the pieces that I had. I really like the weave on this fabric. It's just so cool and textured. I feel like this is really gonna pick up in the final dress, and it's just gonna give it so much dimension and character, which is amazing and so authentic for my district. This is my pile of authentic ribbons. They are in pieces, but that's okay because I can piece them together where needed on the skirt. And I do luckily have long enough pieces that they're gonna work out just fine, which is so lucky. Since I'm working with a lot of vintage historical fragments of materials, I do need to be careful and prepare them. So first I'm ironing out all the ribbons so that they're nice and flat, so I can actually have flat trim to sew on. And then when it comes to ironing the fabric, it was actually kind of a challenge because this is really delicate historical fabric and you don't want to mess it up because that would be tragic. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually protecting the fabric from the heat of the iron because this polypropylene is a really delicate fiber. I mean, this is really like a special occasion fabric and you really don't want to mess it up. So I'm just covering it up with a white cotton cloth here and then I'm ironing it over the cloth. Here I'm cutting out all of my pattern pieces, so I already drafted the pattern for this, which is why I've already got it prepared and ready to go. This is a high-end delicate fabric to work with, but it's not too difficult to cut. Cutting is probably the easiest part. I just had to make sure that I was really careful about lining up the edges and keeping everything straight because the polypropylene does want to kind of shift a little bit. So it's a shifty fabric, you know, one of those finicky high-end ones, but I definitely can work with it, no problem. This is for a really worthy cause. For the skirt, I actually had to increase the length by putting 2 layers of my fragments together. I was really careful sewing this in the sewing machine because, again, I don't want to hurt the precious fabric, and I want to really respect the historical textile that I'm working with here. Working with the fragments of trim was really only an issue around the skirt. I got around this by connecting various pieces of trim, and since the trim all has this lettered font on it, I made sure that I actually connected the pieces such that I lined up that lettered font and kept the pattern exactly the way it's supposed to look all the way around the skirt, which is really important, I think, because working with all these high-end materials and this really fancy stuff, you really want to keep that high-end fancy feel to the dress. And I feel like lining up the print on the trim really helps to achieve that. By the way, the skirt in proper Swedish is called a kjol. And here I am just sewing that trim along the bottom edge. The bodice of this dress is known as a liv or a livstycke. These pieces were somewhat tricky to work with because the trim is on the straight grain, while the bodice pieces themselves have some curvature. And in fact, I've noticed that a lot of the garments from the 19th century are like this as well, where they had to kind of ease that trim around the edges. And so that's exactly what I did. I just kind of eased it around the curves and made sure that I did a very similar process to what I observed on the authentic garments, because I really want this to look as close as possible to an authentic dress. Because even though it's modern time and it is folk dress or folkdrakt, it's really important to me that it really takes on that historical, authentic character, because that's really where these dresses came from, and I think that's really special. Okay, so here we get to the hardest part. That was working with the skirt of the dress, and it's kind of a big old blue mess of polypropylene. Beautiful, but still a mess. A beautiful mess, if you will. I mean, notice how stiff this fabric is. This is just amazing. Like today we have to starch so much of our modern fabrics to get them to stand up this much. With this, you don't even need any starch. It just stands up on its own, which does make it a bit of a hassle at this stage in the construction process. But you know what? That's part of why these folk dresses are so special and take such skill to produce. Because if you want a real one, you're going to deal with the real fabrics, like this one. When I got to the pleats on this dress, I really started to have a lot of respect for the seamstresses of old that used to work with this fabric to make the traditional dresses for where my ancestors are from. Because this stuff was not easy to work with. Pleating it by hand, a whole story on its own, and then sewing it, a whole other story also on its own. 2 stories, so we've got a book of stories going on this dress right here. Trying it on proves that it fits great, which is amazing. I just love the body it has. I don't need a petticoat or starch or anything. Totally unlike modern fabrics. By the way, when you combine the bodice and the skirt, you can actually call this livkjol. So you can put the 2 words together, liv and kjol, into one word, livkjol. And here's my hat or mössa that I made to match my dress. See, look at this whole dress standing up on its own. No starch needed. This is not like those modern fabrics. This is the real good stuff. It's also traditional to wear an apron or förkläde with the folk dress or folkdrakt. So I've got a lovely white linen apron here to complete my look. You know what? There's something missing here. With moose mask added, we are ready to go and venture forth into my hometown. I made sure to grab a bag that matches my dress. It's made out of that same blue polypropylene, and it also has matching trim, so it's perfect to complete my ensemble. I really do love this dress. It's just such a dream come true to have this and to wear it. I feel so amazing in it. I am so sure that when I go visit my district in this, I will just be the talk of the town. All right, so let's go visit my hometown. It's called Ikea. Oh, look at this little neighbor guy. Hello, how are you doing today? Our marketplace restaurant is really famous. People come from all over the place to eat here. And who could argue with amazing foods like meatball and mashed potato, and of course the traditional Swedish kaffe? You can't go wrong here. In fact, they even have veggie meatball now. This candy is in the shape of a Dala horse, and that's actually the breed of horse that we have native here. It's so rare, and people really love to come here and see them. Now it's time for some cooking, and I'm going to sing you the traditional song from my region. Yay, borsker de herbadiska du. Yea, borsker, herdor, border, bork, bork, bork. Heard a piggy poo. Oh, the piggy poo. Ah, what is borsker bark? What is the borsker bark? What about it? Whatever. Oh la la, oh da 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 da. Ah, da 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 da. Heard a wormies, heard a grilly grill. What about a boy? Borska da. Oh, heard a griller, heard a in the oven. Oh da da da. Borska da. Borska da chocolate mousse. Heard a chocolate. Heard a mousse. Heard a chocolate for the mousse. Heard the kitty under the rubber. Heard a butcher. Borska da. Whatever. Oh, da da. Heard a snaky. Ah, snaky. Ah. And if you want another snack from our other marketplace, you can get hot dog and cinnamon bun. We also have lots of other things like chocolate mousse. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you see everything else I post here. Find me on social media as Daisy Viktoria, and a special shout out to all of my patrons who help so much to continue the creation of beautiful quality content like this. Okay, hold up just a minute. I've got to admit something to you guys. This was actually an April Fool's video. There's something that I did as a trick in this video. Have you figured it out yet? Yeah, that's right. Miss Kitty is not my cat. She's actually my mom's cat. I actually got approval from someone else's cat. But it's okay. I love Miss Kitty, and I know she loves me. Okay, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, and hey, Dool!